Hello, today we will go over Fulgrim and his story. We will learn about his early life, his role in the Horus Heresy, and where he is today. Just like his brothers, Fulgrim was teleported away from Terra by the Chaos Gods. His gestation capsule landed on Chemos, a resource-poor mining world, where he was spared from death by the caretakers due to his beauty. He rose from a laborer to become one of the executives who governed the fortress factory of Kalax, transforming the mining technology with his extraordinary technical acumen. Under his leadership, mining production skyrocketed, and the industrial efficiency grew to the point that Chemos mines were producing surpluses for the first time in decades. Fulgrim fostered the re-emergence of Chemosian art and culture, which had long been sacrificed to the planet's resource shortage and need for constant labor. Fulgrim's life on Chemos changed when a flight of heavily armored Stormbird dropships, bearing the mark of the Emperor of Mankind, emerged from the perpetual twilight sky. The planetary police force surrounded the landing zone and Fulgrim ordered them to welcome the strangers to meet with him in Kalax. In his private quarters, Fulgrim met the Astartes and dropped to his knees before the Emperor, offering his sword in service. The Emperor taught him of Terra and the Great Crusade to reunite all scattered worlds of mankind beneath a single rule. The goal was to prevent humanity from facing possible extinction at the hands of hostile forces and to claim its rightful place as the dominant intelligent species in the Milky Way. During the Great Crusade, two of the most powerful and skilled Primarchs, Fulgrim and Ferrus Manus, were fated to cross paths. The two leaders quickly became fast friends upon their first meeting at Mount Neridon on Terra. Fulgrim boasted that he would forge the most perfect weapon for the coming crusade, and Ferrus Manus couldn't resist the challenge. The two stripped to the waist and spent weeks working tirelessly at the forge, the ringing of hammers and good-natured insults filling the air as they sought to outdo each other. Their brotherhood would become legendary throughout the Imperium, a symbol of the unity and strength that could be achieved between the Primarchs. Fulgrim was eager to make a contribution to the Great Crusade, but his legion was small, so he was placed under the command of Horus and assigned to fight alongside his Lunar Wolves Legion. As the Emperor's children's ranks swelled with new Astartes over several decades, Fulgrim was given command of his own expeditionary fleet and conquered dozens of worlds for the Emperor. However, it was on the Xenaz world of Lauren where Fulgrim's fate took a dark turn. The Third Legion's advance on the world had been rebuffed with violence, and honor demanded that they answer in kind. The Serpentine Layer species were corrupted Xenaz worshippers of the Chaos God of Pleasure, Slench, and they were determined to keep their resource-rich ocean world for themselves. The Third Legion conquered Lauren for the Imperium, exterminating the hostile native reptilian species, the Layer, without realizing that they had been corrupted by Slench. The Layer, whose technology equaled or even exceeded that of the Imperium in certain areas, had moved their entire society onto hundreds of floating coral islands that circled a central nexus in the planet's atmosphere, each coral island held aloft by an anti-gravity generator. During the final slaughter of the Layer, Fulgrim and his Astartes discovered the great temple dedicated to Slench that lay on the central floating coral island of Lauren. After defeating the temple's fanatical Layer defenders, Fulgrim discovered what the Lar were so fiercely protecting. At the center of the chamber of the unholy temple was a circular block of veined black stone, and embedded within was a tall silver sword with a gently curved blade and a crude amethyst gem set in the pommel. This sword was not only a potent Slaaneshi artifact but also the physical vessel of a greater demon of Slench. Once Fulgrim had claimed the blade as his own, the demon within it began whispering in his mind and corrupting his soul towards the service of Slench. He began to wield the demon blade more often than his prior weapon, the great sword Fireblade that had been forged for him on Terra by his fellow Primarch, Ferrus Manus. Thinking the whispers in his mind were only his own subconscious speaking to him, Fulgrim began listening to what it offered. Eventually, he discovered these were actually the whispers of the demon that existed within the blade. After a lot of persuasion from his brother Horus, himself already corrupted by the ruinous powers after his injury on the moon of Davin, Fulgrim gave himself over to chaos and found his particular patron in the Prince of Pleasure, who offered the Primarch a route to the ultimate perfection he so craved for himself and his Astartes, free of all morality and dependent upon the pursuit of ultimate self-obsession. Fulgrim's legion, the Emperor's children, quickly became corrupted by Slench as well. Fulgrim's new focus on perfectionism and pursuit of ultimate pleasure led the once noble legion into hedonistic and decadent practices, including torture and murder. The Legion's downfall culminated in the disastrous Battle of Isstvan III, where the traitorous Astartes of the 3rd Legion turned on their loyalist brethren, including the Iron Hands and Salamanders, who were summarily annihilated in a brutal and cowardly surprise attack. Fulgrim's actions had far-reaching consequences for the Imperium and the Horus Heresy that followed. His fall to chaos was a pivotal moment in the heresy. During the Horus Heresy, Fulgrim's ultimate fall was complete. He had succumbed to the temptations of the Chaos God of Pleasure, Slaanesh, and had become a traitor to the Imperium. Alongside his brother Primarch Horus, he became one of the earliest leaders of the rebellion, seeking to overthrow the Emperor and impose the will of chaos upon the galaxy. At the infamous drop site massacre on the planet of Isstvan V, the traitors launched a surprise attack on the loyalist forces of the Raven Guard, Iron Hands, and Salamander's legions. Fulgrim, leading the Emperor's children, landed in the midst of the loyalists and began to slaughter them with great enthusiasm. It is said that he personally killed Ferrus Manus, the Primarch of the Iron Hands, whom he had once considered a close friend. It is not entirely clear whether Fulgrim was aware of the true nature of the battle, or whether he was simply following the orders of Horus, who had orchestrated the entire massacre. But regardless of his intentions, Fulgrim's actions had sealed his fate as a traitor to the Imperium, and his once noble legion had become utterly corrupted by the powers of chaos. After the drop site massacre, Fulgrim and the Emperor's children continued to fight alongside Horus and the other traitor legions. They launched numerous attacks against the Imperium, spreading destruction and despair in their wake. Fulgrim himself became one of the most feared and notorious figures of the heresy, leading his legion on countless raids and campaigns. Fulgrim's fall to chaos was only the beginning of his descent into darkness. In his pursuit of perfection, he became increasingly obsessed with the sensation of pleasure, leading him to become one of the most depraved of all the Chaos Primarchs. During the heresy, Fulgrim began to seek out other ways to attain greater power. He joined forces with Perturabo, Primarch of the Iron Warriors, and embarked on a quest to retrieve the Angel Exterminatus, a weapon that could tip the balance of the heresy in Horus' favor. However, shortly before they were to leave, Fulgrim was hit by a direct headshot and was only saved by the efforts of Fabius Bile. Upon arriving at the Crone world of Idris, the two Primarchs encountered an army of Wraithguard and Wraithlords that had awoken from their slumber. During the vicious battle, Fulgrim attempted to betray his brother and slip away, but was pursued by Perturabo. After arriving in a massive spherical chamber, Fulgrim revealed to his brother that there was no Angel Exterminatus, but rather he was destined to become such a weapon on this world. Furious, Perturabo attempted to attack Fulgrim but was drained of his power when Fulgrim activated the Malgatar stone that Perturabo had previously received under the guise of a gift. Now with the Iron Warriors Primarch's power in hand, Fulgrim revealed the purpose of his plan, to achieve apotheosis, better known as demonhood. Just as Fulgrim was about to complete his ritual and achieve demonhood, he and Perturabo were interrupted by an ambush of Salamanders, Iron Hands, and Raven Guard who had been stalking the traitor fleet in search of vengeance since the drop site massacre. One of the loyalist Astartes shattered the Malgatar stone during the battle, freeing some of Perturabo's energy and giving him the ability to strike down Fulgrim with his Thunder Hammer. However, Perturabo only managed to destroy the Primarch's mortal skin and Fulgrim was reborn as a demon prince of Slaanesh. After being freed from his binding by Zardulaig, Fulgrim urged Horus to kill Lorgar and was banished from the War Master's side after a vicious beating. During the Siege of Terra, Fulgrim did little in the early stages of the battle, goading Angron into fits of fury and constantly requesting that Horus let him be unleashed upon Terra. He oversaw a major attack on the southeastern region of the walls of the palace, but failed to penetrate the Emperor's psychic shield. Fulgrim's greatest moment in the Siege of Terra came during the assault on Saturnine Gate, where he massacred his way across Imperial fists until he encountered Sigismund, battling the first captain. As he was about to finish Sigismund, Fulgrim was then confronted by Rogal Dorn himself. The two Primarchs fought, with Fulgrim goading Rogal Dorn constantly. Dorn managed to counter every attack and impale Fulgrim, but the Phoenician laughed off the damage as he rapidly regenerated and declared he can't die. Before leaving the battle, Fulgrim summoned his elite guard led by Eidolon to assassinate Dorn. Under Fulgrim, Billions of defenseless civilians were used as experimental subjects in the effort to create ever more powerful stimulants and pleasure-inducing chemicals, used to suffer demons, or were simply killed to sate the bloodlust of the Legion. After the heresy, Fulgrim settled into demonhood as a demon prince of Slaanesh, and the Emperor's children continued to leave behind a trail of depopulated worlds as they fled towards the Eye of Terror. As they ran out of slaves to use, they began to raid other traitor legions for fresh meat, leading to conflicts known as the Legion War. Fulgrim was seen in combat a century after the heresy at the Battle of Thessalia, where he fought Roboute Guilliman and killed him with a fatal poison before disappearing from records for many centuries. Rumors began to circulate that Fulgrim had been gifted a hidden world of unlimited pleasure by Slaanesh for him to rule. However, he was said to be asleep on this world and not actively guiding the Emperor's children. Several warbands of Emperor's children, other Slaanesh-worshipping Chaos Space Marines and cultists, and the Imperial Inquisition had searched for this world, but none had returned. Abaddon the Despoiler was able to find Fulgrim and gain the favor of Slaanesh by trading an unblemished Python Psyker with the Primarch. During the 13th Black Crusade, Fulgrim was thought to have appeared to massacre Imperial Guard during the Cacophony of Extremis 6. He made another appearance during the Ultramar campaign, where he possessed the Archconsul of Macragge to gloat to Guilliman. He warned Guilliman that any feeling of self-satisfaction would be his doom. Fulgrim later appeared during the Sebeast planet strike, where he slew the Iron Hands captain Zint Gralvik. At some point in the 41st millennium, he was lured back to Isstvan III by a sonic beacon, where he was confronted by the dreadnought Realenor, the sole surviving loyalist Emperor's children. Fulgrim tore the dreadnought apart, but an unexploded virus bomb was detonated and engulfed the planet, wounding Fulgrim's pride, even though his form survived. Despite being largely absent from the 41st millennium, Fulgrim's name continues to inspire both awe and revulsion among the Imperium's enemies. His legacy as a traitor and the leader of the Emperor's children lives on, and his return is always a possibility that sends shivers down the spines of those who remember the atrocities he committed during the Horus Heresy. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more great artwork and content, check out our Patreon. Comment what you would like to see below, and have a great day.